The following is an America Matters media production. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the station or its advertisers, although we think they should. But that's the opinion of America Matters Media.
This is not America. Sha-la-la-la-la. Little piece of you.
Hey, welcome back. It's Talking Truth to Power, Nevada's Freedom Talk Radio. I'm your host, Brendan Traynor, and my co-host, Leland Faegre. And how many days until the election?
We've got 76 left now.
All right.
Yep. Before the next Trump term begins.
You know,
I'm prepared to say that I have a record of over 40 years and that I'm going to beat Joe Biden.
And I think that's exactly what's playing out in front of us.
well, the convention is generally acknowledged to be a Cringefest. The virtual convention. I mean, they had more Republicans there than Democrats.
And the ratings reveal that.
Yes.
Both the online type and the major television networks are just, it is cringing kind of stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, poor Bernie, that's probably his swan song. I mean, he may never appear at another convention. He's how old he is and so on.
4 years from now,
yeah. And AOC got 60 seconds to introduce Bernie. That was the only bone they threw to the Bernie bros. They had people like Colin Powell, who lied us into war, and
it's a big tent, isn't it?
Yes, it is a big tent. Speaking of big tents, they had Bill Clinton. The same day he speaks, there's a picture of him getting a massage from one of Epstein's girls.
That can't be coincidental, so I'm not sure how that was released. But yeah, it was pretty interesting stuff. But going back to AOC, I mean, you say what you want about that third grader. She's a good speaker. She does communicate well.
Yeah, she does.
That's why she's so dangerous, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Because she's really dumb. She doesn't get anything, you know. Of course, they are all dumb, you know. I think the D in Democrats stands for dumb.
Well, they sometimes call the Republicans the stupid party because they can't seem to take advantage of the dumbness that's in the Democratic Party.
Your lying dog-faced pony shoulder.
And they have been that way in the past, that's for sure.
Right.
But I think they've got a good strategy this time. I know you're going to take issue with it here. I just think this is the way it's done. You can't sit the American people down and like a teacher in a classroom.
No.
And so this is the way it's done, and that's all there is to it, you know. And it seems to be working because his numbers are improving.
Oh, his numbers are definitely improving. I think it's because of the riots. I mean, they're still going on, and people are still getting killed, and you know, Trump is the only one that's come out and taken action. The mayor of Chicago had to invite the feds in. She had to back down. And even though they blamed when the DHS went into Portland and defended the courthouse, and they were accused of snatching people off the street without showing any ID, which was false. And then they left, and the riots are continuing. And now there was a truck driver pulled out of his truck, and
my question is, what was he doing there? And apparently he was taking video.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of YouTubers out there that make money from those damn things.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, if that's the nature of the game, you want to step out of your vehicle in a bunch of Visigoths like that. That's the effect.
Yeah, it takes a certain amount of recklessness, but still, violence is violence, and so their police are looking for him. But you're right.
His last name is Love, isn't it?
Yes.
The guy they're looking for, his last name is Love.
Well, what else did we learn? We learned that flamboyant gay black singers like Buffalo Springfield.
Yeah, I didn't know. Now, how did you know he was gay?
Just by his clothes. I mean, what self-respecting, straight male would dress like that?
I'm not sure. It just looked like some sort of an insect.
I know, it was strange, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what everybody's reaction was. This is really strange.
But they worked Stephen Stills into the video. I noticed that.
Yeah. And then, the only people that gave a a well-received speech, although they were kind of fluffy, was Michelle Obama and Joe Biden. They gave decent speeches. Everybody else was
I don't
awful.
think Michelle's was good at all. I was very offended by that. I mean, it was cringeworthy. Is what it was. Yeah. I know she got a lot of attention for it, but I just didn't think it was anything.
Well, it could have been. She took her dig at Trump. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if it was just that, because I expected that, but no, I just didn't think it was much of anything. Just a diatribe that you would expect. Wasn't anything in there, and of course she didn't have apparently the time to work in Kamela into her speech. So
Right.
So and then the excuse has been that it was taped a week ago or
Okay.
so they didn't have time to work Kamala into the speech. But that really is very, very tenuous of an explanation, I think.
All right. So, but Joe Biden, she gave a decent speech. It was well set up for a change. Instead of having somebody like John Kasich standing in a crossroads, like overt symbolism.
Kasich, you mean?
Kasich, yeah.
Yeah.
He was standing in the crossroads giving a speech about how, what they give every 4 years, that this is the existential election and so on.
Do you remember when he ate the story about him eating pancakes from Trump back in 2016?
No, I don't quite remember that
Trump
one.
described his not so graceful style of eating pancakes. I don't think he's ever let that go. He's going to come back at Trump. I think he speaks for the Romney, Bill Kristol,
sure.
anti-Trump crowd, all those folks. That's why he's there at their behest.
Right. He's speaking to the never Trumpers, the
Yeah.
Rick Wilsons and all the rest of them. They didn't have Rick Wilson there.
It's a big tent.
Yeah, it's a big tent. But they're going after the suburban white. As Schumer said after the last election, for every blue-collar worker we lose to Trump, we gain 2 or 3 moderate Republican voters in the suburbs. And that's what they're hoping
That's
to
what
do.
they're hoping for, I suppose.
Yeah.
But all those blue-collar jobs are coming back, or most of them. So I don't think they really have a case there. I don't think they really have a legitimate case here in any way, shape, or form to build a campaign on. By the way, is your mailbox safe?
Yes, my mailbox has not been tampered.
Because I heard Trump is out there stealing it.
Yeah, it's a mailbox gate.
No word in the English language is less convincing than probably.
Are you sure we should get matching tattoos on our first date?
Sure. We'll probably stay together.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266. Now, back to the show.
And welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Brendan Trainer, and I'm here with Leland Faegre, our longtime co-host. And
Almost 2 years.
almost 2 years now, yes.
Yeah, next month will be 2 years.
And we were talking about the DNC and the Democratic Convention and how the Democrats are the dumb party. And that's what the D stands for.
And deceitful.
And deceitful.
I got a
all
whole bunch of...
right. Degenerate.
Yeah, that would work.
But, Kamala Kopp, as I call her, Kamala Harris, she's not the brightest bulb in the Harris family.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. I don't think she doesn't come across as anything but intelligent. The way she has that lawyerly approach and invective, when she speaks and all that. But I was just noticing here that when blacks were asked in response to the Rasmussen survey, they were 1/3 less likely to vote for the Democratic Party because of her selection on the ticket.
Well, she's not liked by anybody.
Yeah.
She hasn't given them a boost. If anything, she's presided over the way that Trump is caught up in the polls, the national polls, and even the battleground polls. He's virtually neck and neck with Biden now.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, she was an affirmative action choice, obviously, to be vice president. I mean, her whole pick was based on the fact that she's black, a woman, and also Asian.
Except that she isn't black.
That's right. Well, she's not African American.
Right.
No, she's Caribbean.
And I just wonder whether blacks see that.
Yeah, they do.
You know, they look right straight through that. So
Uh-huh.
I don't know. But anyway, that's what that we're seeing here on some of this most recent polling, is that they're not fond of her. And that doesn't bode well for the party.
Even the Indian people don't like her.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's not good either.
No, I mean, they think that she favors the Muslims. She favors Pakistan and favors the Muslims in the dispute over the Kashmir section there. And they even, a spokeswoman for the Indian people that I read said that they would have favored Tulsi Gabbard, who is a Hindu,
Right.
much more over Kamala Harris. And and again, she, for some reason, even though her younger sister her mother went to Berkeley for her PhD, University of California at Berkeley, and her sister did too, and the family has money, but for some reason she was an affirmative action attendee at college.
So she holds her reputation and her stature to the fact that she was an affirmative action beneficiary.
The Legal Education Opportunity Program, called LEAP, has made law school accessible for disadvantaged students. How disadvantaged was she?
Right. And what were her grades like?
Well, I don't have her transcripts, but all I can say is she went to Howard University, which is an all-black college in Washington, D.C., and then LEAP, they got her enrolled in a run-of-the-mill second-tier law school called UC Hastings in Oakland.
Run-of-the-mill?
Yeah, I mean, it's not Berkeley.
Right.
You know, like her sister went to. And Berkeley is only a few miles east of Oakland off I-80. So there's every indication that she's not the brightest bulb in the Harris family.
Or she just wasn't inclined to work that hard.
Or possibly.
You know, just a partier.
Why not, when she can get ahead on her back?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Did you hear that there was a bit about her being Biden's mattress?
Yes.
Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
It looked like a typo to, was it Limbaugh that came up with that?
I think so,
I think it was Limbaugh.
Yeah, they were.
You know the thing.
You know the thing, man.
So, and then so we've covered that she's not probably that smart, and she's not really liked by anybody. What else can we say except that are they Democrats trying to lose?
Well, I think they're doing what they can. They just have nothing.
Right.
They literally have nothing. And so they kind of put this mosaic together thinking that, well, we can take this vote there and that vote here and put it all together because they really have no other option.
And don't forget the person who's running for president, Joe Biden.
Oh, I won't forget him.
No, he repeated the third grade, and you were surprised to learn that.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had heard about he had trouble academically or grade-wise.
He earned all C's and D's in his first 3 semesters at the University of Delaware, except he got an A in physical education.
Huh. That's interesting.
And a B in great English writers. He got an F in ROTC. And he graduated 76th in his Syracuse Law School class of 85 students.
Does Colin Powell know this?
And of course, he was caught bragging about how he was the first in his class.
Right, that's right.
Yeah, he had bragged about that, and he got called out on that, as well as all the plagiarism. He's been caught twice for plagiarism.
I mean, gosh, what a candidate, huh?
Yes. But it shows that, in Kamala's case, it shows that affirmative action, which was supposed to be helping the poor and the lower middle class minorities,
has really been a vehicle for the upper middle class.
Yes, exactly. But
I'm not surprised at that.
No, I mean, we've had anti-poverty programs forever, and we still have anti-poverty. Right.
The more money you throw at something, the worse the problem gets.
Yes, which is the libertarian insight that nobody wants to look at.
I mean, that's a real basic.
Right.
The Great Society hasn't produced a great society.
And the more laws you pass, the more criminals you create.
That's true of every subject.
Yep. I mean, you don't need all this much government. So what can we say? So, and then there's also the Obama connection. And we're beginning to look back at the debates and remember how Obama never trusted Biden, right? He never endorsed him.
Even told him he shouldn't run.
Right.
Twice, I think.
Oh, Joe, you don't have to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
And then privately he said, you can't trust Biden. He's always going to find a way to F it up.
Yeah. And now you don't really know what was going on in his head, whether he recognized his mental acuity was less than what it should be, or whether he just had someone else in mind, because apparently Obama liked Kamela.
Mm-hmm. He even thought she was pretty.
And even praised her appearance.
I mean, people were writing stories about maybe he's making Michelle jealous because he's saying such nice things about Kamala.
I didn't see that, but he did flatter her.
Yes. And so she was set up. I mean, she set up Biden by attacking him over busing, which was a phony
horrible
debate.
Wasn't that horrible?
Yeah, I know.
One of the few things he should have gotten credit for.
No.
And she went after him for that.
And she had T-shirts with her
Yeah,
picture
she had
on
him
it
ready.
saying,
It was
that little girl was me.
Yeah, she set
ready
him
to
up.
go.
She set him up.
But then, it's famously, Tulsi Gabbard took her out on her prosecutorial record.
Mm-hmm.
And
which was brilliant.
And then immediately Hillary attacked Tulsi for being a Russian asset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So this is how this dynamic is playing out here.
It was very interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
it's not nearly as interesting anymore. That's when all the excitement was happening.
Well, Tulsi tried to give her endorsement to Bernie, and Bernie turned her down. So then she did say she would endorse the Democratic nominee, so she endorsed Biden, but she has enough honor that she's going to resign from Congress after doing it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the fact is that this is all playing out now, that we know that the Democrats have not gotten over the Clinton-Obama era. This is what they're trying to perpetuate.
Exactly. Yeah. That's all they have, is to go back to the way it was.
Right. That's what they're offering us. And with Colin Powell up there, they're offering us 1996. And John Kerry spoke. Oh yeah, remember? He's a dynamic speaker. So that was a plus for the DNC convention. And so we'll just have to wait and see how much more cringeworthy this can get. We have to see if Biden will even speak. Maybe he'll just stand there for a couple of minutes and walk off.
Well, he does have trouble with the teleprompter. I hear it every time he uses it. I mean, he comes across much more worthy of a speaker with it, obviously, but he still makes mistakes with it. And,
yes. And if there is a problem, his hand is going crazy trying to get it back up, or he stumbles around and finally quits, or they turn down the curtain. What if they have to turn down the curtain on him
during the convention, as they've been doing lately?
It'll probably be pre-taped, though, right? They'll edit it really well.
Well, it's not supposed to be.
No, it's not.
That one's supposed to be live. In fact, I think some of the remaining speeches are supposed to be live, and there's been criticism that much of this boredom, for lack of a better word, has been the result of it all being canned in advance.
Mm-hmm.
There's really no live response.
Right.
They couldn't put a like a focus group together for this thing, even for say for Michelle or for Jill or anybody really. And well, we'll see what happens tonight.
Did I mention on air that the Democrats, the DNC apparently forgot to buy digital ads for the convention?
Yeah, that is really shocking if it was a mistake. I can't imagine it. I just don't think they have anything. Why waste the money?
Right.
You know?
Okay.
Would you like to increase your vitality? Disease develops within your body when the metabolic vitality of your cells is altered. Well, now there is a patented device that improves cell metabolism called...
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back to Talking Truth to Power, Nevada's Freedom Talk Radio. I'm your host, Brendan Trainer, and my co-host, Leland Faegre.
I know what the C and D and C stands for.
What's this? Well, does it work
Coronavirus.
with coronavirus? The coronavirus dumb part?
Because
dumb?
that's all they've got right now.
Right, I know.
And of course, that's Trump's fault too. So it's just that's why I think it has just failed so miserably, from my perspective.
The convention or the campaign?
The convention. Well, yeah, the campaign generally, but I mean, we're talking primarily about the convention as we speak. So I just think that's the main flaw.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the whole attempt to keep the economy closed down, to keep the schools down.
And it's not working.
Right.
Because kids are going back to school, and did you see the markets are all the way back now?
Right. They're all the way back.
All the way back.
Yeah, I'm still very glad I'm in silver instead of my IRA, but
it's leveling off back. Right there.
Right.
You know, you're staying what mid 1900, right? For an ounce for silver or gold, and yeah, that's a pretty good sign actually. That's building a base there. Yeah. But the equity markets are back, regardless, and that's one hell of a V. That's all I can say.
Unless they crash again, but
well,
yes,
they could.
They could, but
yeah, I mean we've lost 9 million jobs,
right?
But they're coming back very, very quickly. It looks like so.
Yeah, we have to get the velocity of the money supply going, or absent, of course, honest money, which we keep talking about.
Yeah, but we don't have that.
We don't have that. So in the meantime, we don't have coins in circulation. We don't have the money is sitting there. Nobody is spending it at this point. The velocity, the amount of money changing hands is very, very low. And so if that ever picks up, then we might have the inflation that we're looking at.
Right, and that's why you should always keep some precious metal in your portfolio.
Definitely. And but at any rate, we wanted to talk a little bit, getting off the Democrats and their failed convention. And we want to talk a little bit about Millennial Millie and her arrest on last Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
Her real name is Millie Weaver, and she's a YouTube personality. She's a subcontractor with Alex Jones' InfoWars, and she was arrested at her home on Friday afternoon, and she has a little cell phone video of her actual arrest. She's the mother of 2 small children, but being arrested on a Friday afternoon means that she had to spend the weekend in jail until her arraignment on Monday. Now it
has a stench about it already, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's
just by what you said.
I mean, she's a first-time offender.
Yeah.
There's no reason why she's going to flee or anything.
Right.
They could have picked her up on Monday morning.
Exactly. Over the weekend, that kind of stuff. It's like they did to Roger Stone.
Right.
Show up at 5 in the morning.
Everything but the SWAT team and the CNN cameras.
Frogmen. Yeah. There's probably no water outside her house. They couldn't get away with that.
So it was a sealed grand jury indictment, which itself, I understand, is very rare in Ohio. She lived in Ohio. And it's for some kind of burglary, obstruction of justice, and domestic violence. Now, I've seen the actual indictments, but they don't specify what happened, what the act. They just specify the charges. They don't specify the facts of the case at all. So we still don't know what's going on there. But the fact is
that normal that they don't go into
it depends on the state, but so we'd have to see what is the normal thing in Ohio, and so far nobody has spoken to whether that's abnormal for Ohio yet or not. But it was signed by Judge Becky Doherty, so we have a Becky involved in the case. And she had just posted a video announcing that she was going to produce a major documentary called Shadowgate, I believe. Mm-hmm.
I posted it on our Talking Truth to Power Facebook page.
That would use whistleblowers to demonstrate deep state connections. We have a Talking Truth. We have a Facebook page, don't we?
Yeah, that's where I posted it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Talking Truth to Power is our Facebook group that we post every one of our shows for.
You're a moderator.
I am.
You knew that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't been as active on social media as I could be, but it's just, you can get taken off. Some of the content I would post might get me taken off.
Well, that's true for all of us, I think, these days.
Yeah. But
so they can get to the problems with Section 230.
Right. So a lot of her videos involve her going to demonstrations and talking quite civilly to both the left and the right demonstrators, and even trying to get them together and talk. Mm-hmm. She's not a firebrand.
No, she really isn't.
No.
Hardly. I mean, no. Not as much as I wish she was.
She's not like Alex Jones.
Right,
no.
Exactly.
She's quite reasonable, and whether you agree with what she says or not, she doesn't come across as being abusive in any way.
Most of the time she's asking questions.
Right.
She's not volunteering her own opinion on anything. It's just trying to get to the bottom of something.
Right. And so the concern is that she's being charged like Assange in a backdoor way, because the actual charges don't seem to be about it. But, they're getting Assange for having classified information from a whistleblower, namely Chelsea Manning. And
Seth Rich was mentioned in the video as well. So she gets into a lot of detail in that thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they put a lot of work into that, hour and a half, I think. It's prepare for, like, sitting down for a movie to watch that video. But we highly recommend here at Talking Truth to Power that you go to our Facebook page, Talking Truth to Power Facebook page, and watch that video. It is something else. So it's some kind of a dispute on the surface anyway, some kind of a dispute between Millie and her mother, in which Millie took the cell phone from her mother and deleted something, and her mother foolishly went to the police. So many constitutional conservatives I'm sure that we are talking to out there. Shut the front door. You're telling me there's dysfunction in her family?
Yeah.
Is that what you're telling me?
I know, but also never go to the police. You never call the police for these things, There's laws on the books that say anything they can call domestic violence, they have to arrest somebody.
Yeah.
And people don't know that, Yeah. So her mother went to the police about her taking the cell phone from her or something, but then she went back and said, please don't prosecute my daughter. I don't want this to be prosecuted. And
then by that time, they knew who she was.
Yeah, exactly. They knew who Millie was.
Too late.
So at least the resistance, not the anti-Trump, but the anti-New World Order resistance knows who she is.
Mm-hmm.
And
if they didn't before, they do now.
Oh, yes. She's already got a GoFundMe page up.
Yeah.
So she's going to get some money to help defend herself.
One of the people that Trump went to originally in the run-up to the campaign, to the election in 2015-16, was Alex Jones.
Right, and Ron Paul appeared to be, people like that are going to do it.
Yeah.
Not Joe Biden.
No. No, they don't have any interest in having the truth exposed.
No. So that's where we stand. We don't know any more details at this point. We're waiting for her to come out with a statement, and maybe it'll come out today, and we can talk about it next week. But Jones himself is being sued by the parents of Sandy Hook, and the judge disregarded any First Amendment claims he had, and the suit is apparently going.
It'll go all the way to the Supreme Court, don't you think? I mean, that's where this is going. Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well,
too bad it has to go there, but it looks like it will.
Right. So the censorship and disinformation continues about anyone that has a different point of view besides the mainstream point of view that we are seeing laid out in the Democratic Convention. That imperialism, the deep state, all of these things that American people need to know about and need to discuss to cut through the propaganda that we're exposed to every single day is being suppressed. And I also have a note here. We don't have a lot of time to go into it, but maybe
you mean in this segment?
Yeah, maybe we can do it on another day. But the World Jewish Congress persuaded Mark Zuckerberg to have to ban any reference to how Jews control major institutions such as the media.
Tell me the Jews control the media?
I would hate to say such a thing, but in fact, we know that
Do we have a Jews in the News segment coming up?
No, okay. Not this week, but maybe next week if we can delve into that a little bit more. But, the fact is that it's a sociological fact that with 2% of the population, they control, way much more than that in the media. They control all the major news outlets, CNN.
And they wouldn't even have to control that if they have control of central banking.
Yes.
That's where it all...
Well, no, you need the media.
Yeah.
The media
I know.
Important.
That's the other side of the coin. Yeah.
Right. Well, the coin will be tossed one more time, and we'll be back in a little bit, and we're going to...
What are we going to talk about in the next segment?
I think we should talk a little foreign policy.
Okay, all right. Do you think our listeners want to hear anything about
I hope
foreign policy from
us?
Hey, all you entrepreneurs out there. Whether you have a small business or work from home, LaRue Press offers a virtual office and business address for all...
Unable to listen to the whole show? A recording of today's program will be available later today. Visit americamatters.us and click on the podcast link. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Brendan Traynor, and I'm here with Leland Faegre. And we were discussing, we're going to discuss foreign policy a little bit. And there's a new country in the news that we may be trying to destabilize. And
you mean that new one up in Seattle?
No, not up in Seattle. Not the CHOP. No, that country no longer exists, as I understand.
Oh, isn't that
Yeah, it's short-lived. But it's like a pop-up country.
I see. Okay.
But we're talking now about Belarus, which most Americans probably have never heard of. The name means White Russia. That's where you get the Rus. And it's a strategic country because it lies right between the very anti-Russian country of Poland and Russia itself. So it's right up on the Russian border. And it's similar to Ukraine, but it has a lot of differences as well. But if you remember the impeachment hearings, there was a guy, a witness with a bow tie, and I know how much you love witnesses with bow ties.
George Kent, my favorite.
Never trust a bureaucrat with a bow tie.
A bow tie liberal is someone you cannot possibly trust.
Right. So he testified against Trump and in favor of all the impeachment witnesses. Mm-hmm. Vindeman, Sondland.
President Vindeman?
Vindeman, yep. Sondland and Ivanovich, the ambassador.
I'm sorry?
Ivanovich, the ambassador. And but they were all retired or replaced or shuffled off, like Vindeman, I think, was shuffled off to the Pentagon to get him out of the White House. But
well, this guy was. Kent was.
Kent was promoted.
Yeah.
He became the Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Bureau of European and Eurasian Affairs.
And this goes to the issue of whether Trump is actually in charge of the executive branch.
Right. Exactly.
This is another example that suggests that you just can't go over there.
No. I know. And, of course...
Just stay in your helicopter.
Yeah.
Stay on Air Force One. Do your little thing with the American people, but we got this covered.
Right.
That's the way they think.
Right. So he is, in other words, in charge of color revolutions, at least... in Europe and Eurasia. That's a pretty big portfolio and a very long name. I mean, how do you fit that on a tile that you put on your desk? Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Bureau of European Affairs.
Oh, they figure out a way.
Yes.
Reduced font size.
So what we're seeing in Belarus is an attempt at a color revolution, as they're called, and which is regime change. And so what do we know about Belarus? Well, Belarus was always part of Russia, except for the Middle Ages and the early modern era up to the Enlightenment, when from like 1300 to 1785, Little Lithuania, it's now a little spot on the map, it's one of the Baltic states. But for a while it was called the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, and it was fairly large. And not only that, but it partnered with Poland, and they owned the big chunk of
going into the Enlightenment.
Yeah, and then I suspect I don't know for sure, but I suspect Catherine the Great had something to do with defeating them. But anyway, the Grand Duchy of Lithuania was, and the Kingdom of Poland were Catholic, and so they were opposed to the Orthodox people there. And they were largely German and Polish nobles, even in Lithuania at the time, and then Poland itself. And when they were anti-Russian. They're actually the reason why Western Ukraine is so anti-Russian and, in fact, neo-Nazi. But Belarus did not go through what the Ukrainian people did in World War II. First of all, they didn't have the Holodomor, which was the starvation of the Ukrainian people. They weren't subjected to that, and they were not occupied as extensively by the Nazis as was Western Ukraine. So Western Ukraine has that whole neo-Nazi thing going, and Belarus doesn't. In fact, most of the people in Belarus speak Russian, and they're ethnic Russians, and they're favorable to Russia, but they declared independence when, at the dissolution of the communist USSR. But they're still very much kind of like USSR in that they're like, if you've noticed in the demonstrations against the against the election, a lot of the people are workers at the tractor factory, which is very USSR,
And which factory or name is that that produces tractors there? What do you know?
I don't know the name offhand. I
mean, it wouldn't be Caterpillar, would it?
No, I don't think Caterpillar is over there, but it's possible.
Yeah. I mean,
it is, because they've been encouraging. See, the thing about Lukashenko is he doesn't appear to be evil. He's just been playing footsie with the EU, and he's also been, even though Russia subsidizes their oil, and in other ways is a major trading party, he plays off Russia against the EU.
Has a leg in both camps.
Yes, exactly. And so now they're trying to grab the right leg and pull it even further into the West. So Minsk itself is a very clean, it's well-run city. Belarus is not corrupt like the Ukraine is. I mean, for Eastern Europe, it's an extremely honest country as far as its dealings go. The people are relatively happy. The country is relatively prosperous. It does have a thriving high-tech sector, but much of the economy is still state-owned, so that's also very much like the USSR. So even good leaders can run out of their popularity. Now, the one thing he's noted for recently is that he refused to go along with the lockdowns over COVID-19. He is like Sweden. He said, go about your business, take an extra shot of vodka. His famous
herd immunity.
Yep, that's what he's gone for. And so he asked the IMF for a loan, and they turned him down, citing the fact that he would have to lock down the country to get the loan. So he's not going to get the loan. But what we have here, we have the mark of George Kent, of course, but we have the mark of George Soros as well, and all of these non-governmental organizations. One of them is Open Russia. Now, the perennial candidate that the West likes that runs against Putin is Alexei Navalny, and he's a neoliberal based out of Moscow. And he apparently is associated with Soros through Open Russia. I thought Russia kicked most of them out, but apparently there's still an Open Russia there. And so he's been involved in stirring up trouble there. And they have a lot of women in the forefront. With these color revolutions, they always push the woman in the front. So you're going to see a lot of pictures of women in the crowd, you know. And they are getting big crowds. You have to give them that.
I saw some of those crowds were very, very large.
Yeah, they are getting big crowds. And so Lukashenko is saying that, you'd have to kill me. I'm not going to leave. You're going to have to kill me, which might be an open invitation, but.
Yeah, over there, you
Yeah.
might expect that.
Well, in the Maidan, it turned to violence, and we know, although the mainstream media won't tell you, that they imported mercenaries from Georgia to shoot the people in the Maidan Square. They shot both the police and the protesters to induce the riots that forced Yanukovych out of office. So far, they haven't gone to the violence that we're seeing here, but they would love to destabilize Belarus and turn it against Russia and either join the EU or, God forbid, join NATO and have NATO right on Russia's border. Like if we had a hostile government take over Mexico, if the Chinese somehow took over the Mexican government, that would be almost like what we're seeing there. Yeah. So Russia is very concerned, and so Putin has been telling Macron and Merkel and Boris to keep their hands off, and we're just going to have to see what happens. The first reaction was Lukashenko was heavy-handed. He arrested 1,000 people, but then a few days later he let them go. And the women again were putting flowers in the guns of the security guard.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and hugging them.
Where's the tissue?
I know. So we'll just have to see, because this is, why do we need to be destabilizing these countries? Again,
it's all they've ever known.
Right. It's always divide and rule. We're never going to get to a place where we can have an honest multipolar world and recognize that other countries have legitimate spheres of interest besides America. And so
I'm sorry?
Other countries have a legitimate sphere of interest besides America.
Okay.
We won't admit that.
It was worthy of repeat.
Yes, the world is our oyster.
That's right.
And we can do whatever we want because we're the exceptional nation.
Since 1947.
Yep. Well, we'll be back
This
next
is a
week.
damn good show. I think we should turn this over to the curator of the Talking Truth to Power Broadcast Museum. What do you think?
All right, I think so.
Yeah, we'll send it over there and see what they think about it.
All right. Remember Millie.
All right, you guys are clear.
Thanks, Christian.